Glory, glory, Sacramento!
Hello and welcome to the 916 Republic Podcast. I'm your host, Nolan, and today I am joined in our not-so-mobile studio by two of the brightest soccer minds since the dawn of the podcast era. The first man of whom I reference to is Zach. Zach, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good, Nolan. My Lord and Savior, Jurgen Klopp, has led Liverpool to a league title for the first time
that was a long time ago.
Quite a long time.
Yeah,
I've been riding that ship for some time, and I'm gonna do it well into the new year probably.
yeah. Zach just doesn't want to talk about the fact that they won't have the points title.
Yeah, because they lost a lot. Who'd they lose to?
I don't want to talk about it.
No, who was it? Man City. It was one.
We lost.
They got pretty well beaten by City.
Yeah,
and then we're still.
Arsenal.
We still could have had.
Yeah, it was two.
The point
Arsenal.
title, but
No.
we lost to Arsenal, and
it's okay.
it was a sad day. But hey, we won the league.
Yep.
Overall, I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Scott, how are you? How's your health? How's your wife's health? How's your baby?
Yeah, it's all good.
Good.
Oh, good.
Anything else?
He just ghosted.
newsworthy?
Nope.
Good. All right. So, lead us into the news, Scott.
Okay. Well, there are just a couple of things we want to talk about today. One is a news thing. One is more of an opinion hot take. The first is that Major League Soccer announcement, and this is, play the sad violin here, pushed back to 2023 instead of 2022, and the league is citing COVID-related complications. If you've been on social media, Reddit has had a few of these questions. People are asking, what's the update with the stadium? It doesn't look like people are working on it, and I think maybe now we can see why. It's that maybe the league has reached out to Sacramento and said, hey, look, it's not going to happen until 2023 because of COVID things. And if I remember correctly, all of the other teams' expansion years are pushed back 1 year, except for Austin. So Austin is further along in their process. Their stadium is, if you look at it, you can, find pictures on social media and stuff. It looks like it's pretty well along. So everyone else is coming in a year late except for Austin. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I don't know. That's supposed to be more of an insult, but it's not a good feeling. It means that instead of only one more year in the USL, we have now 2 more years. How does that change how we build for Major League Soccer expansion roster-wise?
Yeah.
That means that guys like Sargis Panagos and a newcomer to the scene that we're going to talk about in a second, those guys have another year to develop. But it also means the veteran guys that we were kind of hoping lead us into Major League Soccer, Rowe, Awasa. Those guys now have to wait another year for that. So maybe the good news is that they get to be in Sacramento another year longer for those fringe guys, but at the same time, they might not see the field in Major League Soccer. As it was, Awasa, I think, was going to be 29 in 2022, so now
30.
he's going to be 30 in 2023.
Ripe old age.
It might, his time in Sacramento might end with Major League Soccer coming in 2023. So not a big deal. We're still getting Major League Soccer. We still have that slot, but just something to, keep in mind.
Definitely.
And finally, for the news segment, I'll give you the info first and the hot take second. Tacoma Defiance with a 3-0 win against Portland Timbers. Now, Tacoma, through 2 games, has 6 goals scored and 4 points. Seems like pretty big contrast from the team that they were last year. My question to the boys, through 2 games, did we underestimate them? Is it too early to tell? Thoughts?
I'm just going to go out and say our data size or the data sample is too small. Only 2 games played, and that's just not enough to go on to make conclusions like Tacoma are the next Phoenix.
I didn't say
Well,
that.
they have 4 games played.
4.
Excuse me.
Oh, well, yeah, they lost. They played 2 and then lost both pre-pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe an explanation for their post-pandemic form is they just have really talented individual players, and when everyone's figuring out a system, it helps to have really talented, young, flashy players. I don't that score goals. That's my very brief, unthoughtful take on their game.
The Tacoma middle
their
schoolers.
6 goals on the middle schoolers.
I like how you said it's an unthoughtful take. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I
Yeah.
haven't really thought about it.
I really
This is
don't.
what I'm
Yeah.
putting out there.
Yeah, I don't like associating them with anything good. So I'm just gonna say they're not that good. So,
They did hack us, after all.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like our
I
Instagram.
mean, going back to the game that Sacramento and Tacoma played, the first half was, I mean, it was 3-1
Yeah.
Sacramento, and the goal that Tacoma scored was off of a lazy, not lazy, just being rusty. It was in the first minute. It's fluky. That's not going to happen that often. So I don't personally think Tacoma should scare us that much. That being said, we said it before, in August they get their good air
Quote,
quotes
unquote.
players back. I'm saying that because they are talented, but they're still going to be playing in the USL. So their team is going to get better, and I think that honestly that honestly scares me more.
I agree. I think maybe it is a little too early to tell, but at the very least, it's something to look out for. They definitely have some good individual talent. As good as they played in that 3-0 win against Portland played really bad. However, compared to last year, Tacoma was kind of the laughingstock of the league. So there's definitely been improvements made, and with such a small pool, and only 2 teams get out of this pool for the knockout stage, it's at least worth keeping an eye on as far as how they play, how they do. Scott, let's get into the meat of this podcast. We had a game against Reno.
We did. Okay, so how this is going to work, I'm just going to run through some more general, basic information, and then I'll kind of turn it over to the guys to give their thoughts on the game. So, starting 11, Grinwis in goal from right to left. McCrary, Hilliard, Arce, Sargis, and Apollyon are your 4 at the back. Then the midfield 3 at number 6, the central defending guy, the guy that's going to sit in front of your center backs, Jaime Villarreal. That was a switch from last game, which was Wheeler Amanu. And then in front of him was the duo of Skundrick and Rodrigo Lopez. Then again, from right to left, your front 3, Bijev, which was a switch from last game, Formella at your central striker position, and then Werner, which was a switch from last game as well. The subs were first a pair of subs. We only used 4 of our 5, but the pair was Belmar in the 63rd, along with Awasa in the 63rd, who came in for Werner, and then Belmar came in for Bijev. In the 78th, Wheeler Amanu came in for the man that replaced him in the starting 11, Villarreal. And the last sub, the one that I think is probably most interesting, let's see if I get this right, Janergi?
I think it's
I put an
Juaregi.
N in there. Jaregi.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going with?
I'm going to say
Juaregi?
Juaregi?
That makes
Juaregi?
more sense.
Let's go with Juaregi.
I think it's
Raphael. His
Rafael
name's Rafa.
Juaregi.
I think
Okay.
they call him Rafa.
I can't remember how it was announced in the stadium. So
Yeah.
Juaregi came in for Formella in the 89th. Juaregi is the 15-year-old academy
Yes, sir.
product who's on an academy contract. When he was signed, we were kind of like, yeah, he's probably a guy that'll train with the team, but he's not going to really see any minutes. Well, I mean, he only saw about 5 minutes here, but
Yeah.
I was surprised that he was even in the 18 because Penegos showed so well in the preseason game, in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And 2, I was surprised that he got minutes. So something that we'll talk about later on. Like I've said, if you've followed along, formation 4-3-3. Here's the score alert. If you don't want to know the score, pause it now, watch the game, come back. Okay. It was 1-0 to the Republic, goal in the 90th +2 minute. Cameron Awasa with the penalty conversion. The penalty was given because of a handball in the box. If you go back and watch the replay, it's a pretty clear handball. The defender slides in trying to block a cross from Cameron Awasa, and his arm is fully extended, like
Back.
parallel to the ground as he's sliding for
What
no
a-
apparent reason.
What a dummy.
And it doesn't even hit him it's not close. It hits him clearly in the arm.
It's a bad
It's not close to his body. Clear penalty. And other than that, Reno was playing a 4-4-2, so a 4-3-3, 4-4-2. If you're a tactics guy, you can figure that out, wrap your brain around that. Zach, let's go to you with your thoughts on the game.
Definitely looked a lot less sluggish from the first game. I think a big talking point for me, especially in the first half, was Ash on that left back spot looked a lot better. I thought in the first game, and not only myself, but it was very obvious. You could hear from several players yelling at him, Coach Briggs yelling at him. He looked very uncomfortable in that left wing spot last week. He looked very timid moving forward. I think it's because he was scared he'd get caught defensively. And so you could just tell he was thinking, he was in his head for much of that game. This game saw him move up the field much more fluidly. It seemed to just play off his strengths, not so much in his head as much. And especially early on, there were some great chances that he helped create. There was a couple balls that a couple second balls in the final third that he scooped up, made a good move, and put in the box. So Ash, I thought, looked a lot better this game.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that was attributed to the fact that Briggs came back to his original formation of a 4-3-3. So in the game against Tacoma, Ash was being asked to play at wingback. And we talked about in the previous episode that we constantly saw him getting caught out 2v1 against the opposition fullback and winger. Yeah. And having a really hard time communicating with the midfielder who was pushed wide, whether I think that would have been Amanu or Skundrick. And then, or anyways, I'm having a hard time also communicating with Hayden Sargis, like who was taking what man. And so I think the 4-3-3 versus another 4-3-3, 4-4-2 made it a little bit easier for Ash to get his mind around and put in a good, solid defensive performance. Scott, what are your thoughts on that bit?
Yeah, I mean, Apollyon definitely looked way more comfortable defensively. I think offensively he wasn't quite high enough to really give width and impact the game that way. Like the big switch to him was kind of never on. And I still heard players saying, Ash get high, Ash get high.
Yeah.
So I think offensively he still's got some work to do, but defensively at 1v1, he made, I don't know, 3 or 4 plays. They're not all going to be marked down as tackles, but they were, plays that slowed the progression at least, if not winning the ball outright. And he goes in just like 100%, like, and he's just like, if he doesn't, it's the type of tackle that's like, if he doesn't win, he's going to slow down the player because they're just obliterated. So I think that's good from the defensive standpoint, but again, offensively, still some work to be done.
Absolutely.
I want to pose a question for argument's sake, and get your thoughts. We have Shannon Gomez, hopefully healthy soon, and an option in the starting lineup. Ash or Gomez, and why?
So first of all, I was, just kind of overhearing some people talking with Gomez, and last week he said that he should be back in a week or two, and then this week, obviously he wasn't in the 18. He said that he should be back in a week or two. So I think it's probably one of those things where he's like, yeah, I'll be back. And yeah, I'll be back. But, maybe he's just not fit yet.
Yeah.
So we were crossing our fingers that what he was saying was accurate. But honestly, with Ash not being terrible, I don't think there's a need to rush Gomez back.
And it's an injury that you don't want to rush.
Right. So I'm wondering if this question is good, but it's not really going to be applicable for maybe another 2 to 3 weeks, which is fine. We still have to have the conversation. So you're saying Ash or Gomez.
If both are healthy, both are fit.
Yeah, both are healthy, both are fit. I think you have to go with Gomez if he's ready. If he doesn't look sharp, then you slowly, you sub him in for the last 10 minutes. You sub him in for the last 20 minutes. You sub him in for half, and then you get him there. That's how I see it going. But what do you think, Nolan?
I think just going off the information that the club has given us, also the only player now listed on the injury report is Juan Barahona with the knee injury. So at least according to what they're telling us, Shannon Gomez is fit and now competing for his spot. And so I think Briggs just saw Ash, who put in a good performance, got 90 minutes in his legs against Tacoma, and saw Gomez in training alongside him and said, Ash is my guy for this game. And Shannon, you're an incredible player. Like we've heard all the praises that everyone has given him around the club, but I think he has to say, look, this is Ash's position now, and you have to win it back. And but that's good. That's good for the health of a squad. That's good for Ash just as much as it is for Shannon Gomez. It's pushing these guys to be better at their position. That's my take.
And I don't know. I think what the sentiment you're trying to say is the position of left back is up for the best player.
Yeah.
Whoever wins it. So not necessarily saying, well, this is Ash's position and you have to win it back from him, but telling both players, hey, like, compete.
Yeah.
Whoever is the best player is going to win.
Yep.
So if that means for the first month of the season it's Ash, and then Gomez comes back into the fold and is able to get his match fitness back and really compete for it, and we start to maybe see Gomez get some more starts. That's awesome. And then toward Barahona is going to be out for a while, right?
October.
So we don't really have to worry about
out for this.
He's probably out for the
shortened season.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With an injury like that and a surgery, an injury to his it's not his ACL.
It was
What am I
meniscus.
thinking? Meniscus. A tear in your meniscus with a surgery. That's another one. The knees are things you have to take cautiously. At best case scenario, he sees the end of a playoff run, and that I don't think you'll do that. Like, I don't think they'll do that. So I think it's pretty safe to say he's out for the season. But yeah, I mean, we have Shannon Gomez and we have Ash, who's, I will say this, Ash has elements to his game and to his just physical stature that could show a lot of good potential in a left back position. He's a winger by trade, and you can tell he likes going one-on-one offensively. He's comfortable doing that. He's quick, and he has shown an ability to break up plays. So there's elements there. It's raw, but there's elements there to show a really good left back. So they're good things. Going off of this back line, continuing to talk about this back line in this game, the center back pairing of Hilliard Arce and Hayden Sargis. What did you think of that, Scott?
Yeah, I thought it was good. There was a moment where, we're getting maybe a little bit ahead of ourselves where we talk about goals and big moments from the match. But there's a moment where somebody turns the ball over in midfield, a Reno player picks it up, and Tomas steps to a position to cover something, and Hayden doesn't step to fill. I think that's the problem. He kind of stays where he normally would be as a center back, and doesn't step to the player with the ball. Mm-hmm. And the result is a shot, the one save that Grinwis has to make, and goes out of bounds for a corner kick. And while people are getting set up for the corner kick, Tomas Hilliard Arce absolutely rips.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sargis. I mean, like, I'm probably 10 yards away from the field in the first row of the stands, so I can hear everything. Right? Doesn't matter if you're the far side of the field or not. I can hear people yelling. This was on the by the goal, so quite a bit away, and Tomas yelled 5 times louder than anyone else, right in Hayden's face. He said, "No, when I go here, you go here." Like he was motioning with his fingers, like, when I rotate here, you rotate back to where my spot is. And Hayden, I could tell, kind of said something, and then Hilliard Arce said it again, just as loud. So I mean, I like that Hayden is paired with him. I think Hilliard Arce is a good vocal leader.
Yeah.
That being said, Briggs ripped him a couple times on the sideline. Hilliard Arce, when he would get the ball, he wouldn't pass it out to the wing. He was looking for a midfielder inside. Uh-huh. There's nothing wrong with that, but what one of the assistants said, and I can't remember who it was, but one of the assistants said, "Hey, you're getting too predictable," because Reno was seeing that, okay, he has the ball, I'm going to close down this midfielder.
Yeah, and he had a couple turnovers.
Yeah, and he did. And if you noticed in this game, the center backs were really given freedom to just dribble forward.
Yeah.
And there was one time where Tomas dribbled forward, got like halfway into the space that was open, and then kind of was like, oh, okay, now what do I do? Like, do I keep going? And then he passed it. And Briggs was like, come on, like, keep going, like, dribble into the space. And that's something that I thought Sargis actually did really well. And I think actually is one of his probably stronger suits that I'm seeing as a center back, as we've seen him now for about, 4 games preseason and 3 games this season. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet in terms of dribbling.
Mm-hmm.
And this game, he moved the ball a lot quicker. So I think the pairing itself is strong, and there's potential for it to get better, as we've said. But Nolan, do you have anything to add with that?
No, I think that analysis really killed it. I guess the only thing I can contribute to the conversation is just considering the other options, which I don't love. Like,
You're talking about Mahoney and Keenan?
Mahoney and Declan Keenan. Like, watching Keenan come on late in the game against Tacoma, he just looks rickety. Like, I don't know if this is like my
I like
age
that
bias
word. It's a good
coming
word.
out, but like, he just doesn't look fit to keep up with these 22, 23-year-old guys who
Yeah.
are just going to just like eat him up. I know he's experienced. I know he's played in the Premier League. I just don't know.
He's past his prime.
Yeah, I just don't know if he can handle it.
Well, and again, we're preparing for Major League Soccer. So are you going to play the 34-year-old? Is he
Dude, I think he's like
34?
I think he's
35 or
34.
36.
Maybe somebody can fact check. I mean,
I'll
he's
check it.
34. Are you going to play the 34-year-old or the 18-year-old? And I will say this. There was a U.S. scout. Well, there's a guy decked out in U.S. apparel. I'm going to assume he was a U.S. scout, because who else is going to get let in to a game that has media only, or are the only outside people other than Reno? So I'm going to assume this guy was a U.S. scout. He was probably scouting some guys for Reno that came from the San Jose Academy. But he could have just as easily been impressed with Sargis. So
Yeah.
are you going to play the 18-year-old, or are you going to play the 30-something-year-old?
Yeah.
36 in September.
It's
Uh-huh.
36. And so, yeah, and I think this is the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
It better
It
be.
was extended by 1 year, I believe.
I think it was. Well, we can look that up and tweet it out later.
Well, yeah. Let's look that up and tweet it out later.
So,
And then Matt Mahoney, I think he's a viable option. I like what I saw from Hilliard Darcy and Hayden Sargis in both of these games.
yeah, and I think Matt Mahoney is very talented, but mistake prone.
Yeah.
Where, again,
Yep.
do you want to play Matt Mahoney's probably 24, 25? Do you want to play that guy that probably isn't going to make the jump to Major League Soccer, or do you want to play the 18-year-old that has the potential to make the jump?
Yep.
So, for now, I like the pairing.
I would say that. Yeah, kind of going to my takeaways from the game. It's a little bit more personnel oriented. So if you look at the starting 18, there are some notable inclusions and some notable exclusions. So I'll just say what I mean. We saw Rafael Jauregui, who we mentioned earlier in the show, come into the 18, and Mario Panagos exit it. Panagos was on the bench against Tacoma. He was not on the bench against I'm not thinking well.
This game that we just played?
This game that we just
Reno?
played, yeah, against Reno. And Jauregui was in. I said, I think my very words were along the lines of the signing of Jauregui to an academy contract. It was like a PR feel-good stunt right before the restart of the season, and that he would not play any games in the USL. And that clearly was very misguided, because he played 6 minutes and came in for, I believe, Derek Formella, and played on the wing.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I talked about this off the mic with the guys, and the idea was, maybe just Mario Panagos can't play on the wing, and they needed a viable winger. But there's also Julian Chavez, who's on an academy contract, available. Like, he's not on the injury report. I think we saw him at the game.
I think it was him in the stands.
Okay.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, not for sure. But we saw Julian Chavez play on the wing against the Oakland Roots in the preseason. I believe he's been around the first team for several years now, so certainly has more experience than Rafa with the Republic first team. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting that he was included. I think it's interesting that he got minutes. And he came on before the goal was scored, so whether that was Briggs saying, "Oh, great, here's another draw. I'm going to get crap for this. So I better put on a young academy product to, this will be our bright moment." But that he doesn't strike me as that kind of a manager. I think he saw Rafa as someone that would contribute to the dying minutes of the game, and someone that was unpredictable and that could, contribute to the team pulling out a 1-0 win. So that's my thought on the personnel change. Scott, what do you think about his inclusion and Panagos being dropped?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, he, like you said, he's only in the match for 6 minutes, but
Yeah.
I think it is significant that he was brought in when the game was still 0-0. And Briggs, I couldn't hear what he said to him, but it must have just been, hey, go and do something.
Yeah.
Go and try something.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? It ends 0-0 and you get minutes. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read that much into it right now, particularly because, I mean, we've been impressed by Panagos before.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's like, well, he's dropped off and he doesn't have the favor of blah, blah. Like, no, I just think it's
Maybe
Waregi impressed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that this is good, that there's 3 young players that we feel comfortable with being in the 18. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take it as a positive. And for now, if that means Panagos and Waregi kind of rotate in the 18 and rotate getting some sub minutes, yeah, I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than we've seen in the past.
And it'll be interesting with this Wednesday game, not this Wednesday, but there's a Wednesday game the following Wednesday.
See some subs.
See some rotation
Yeah.
happening. Maybe one of them gets a little bit more minutes because there's 5 subs. They don't have to start. They can get subbed in, maybe in the 70th minute or something, and actually get some true meaningful minutes.
We play Timbers in that game?
Okay, so we play LA Galaxy 2 this weekend, and then, we play, I believe, can't tell where my phone is. You guys can look it up, but it's LA Galaxy 2 this weekend, and then, sorry, it is this Wednesday. After the LA Galaxy 2 game, we play Orange County at home, and then
right.
San Diego away.
Okay.
Got it.
Yep.
You're right. Cool.
Zach, you have something here on our show notes about Formella struggling in the first half, but he had a good shot and then struggled to find space elsewhere. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, we saw Formella last week with a brace, which was very encouraging to see. As frustrating as that game ended, we saw Formella with 2 goals, which is it's something that's plagued the Republic for so long, is the ability to finish, the ability to have somebody up top that has consistent play. And so to have him, score 2 goals was great. Not as good this week against Reno, which was tough because honestly, we saw a very sluggish Reno team. I think that there were opportunities Formella could have had to put some goals away. He did have a good shot in the 40th minute, but other than that, he just struggled to find space, and I think he struggled in the position that he was in, and he struggled to find people to link up with. Right, Scott?
Yeah, it looks like he's just a bit more comfortable playing with another forward or somebody very close to him. And I think what we're going to see, and this is really, honestly, probably the first year this is true, whoever the hot hand is, I think is going to get played. So last game, Iwasa started up top with Formella. Formella had the 2 goals, formation switch, so we see Formella start this game, but then Iwasa comes in with Belmar in the 63rd, and Iwasa scores the goal. So this coming game against LA Galaxy 2 away this Saturday, do we see Iwasa start? I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I think in his time in the match, and it could just be because he had fresh legs, but he looked more dangerous than Formella. To me, he was in more space, and Formella just, there was just too many times that his name was called for being in the wrong position defensively, and I don't remember that from Cam. I remember him being in the right position defensively, and that's the type of thing that'll get you in the game over somebody else. And then you add in the fact that he did convert the penalty, and he earned the penalty as well with his movement and cross. So just in terms of the forward situation, I think for me it goes whoever the hot hand is. And that also doesn't include Belmar, who can play up top. We haven't really seen him in that true number 9 striker position, except for in the preseason, which was like a year ago. So
it was a half a year ago.
Yeah. So we'll see. And maybe now we can move on to the discussion of Werner and Bijev.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they had very similar games. They both had their opportunities to send in good balls, and nobody finished. I don't know if that's their fault or if it's the forwards' fault, but they looked like it was their first game back. Yeah, they got minutes in the last game, but this really, to me, felt like the game to shake off their rust. And now that they've got their 63 minutes in,
Yeah.
maybe they'll be a bit more productive. But it was the same thing with Bijev in the last game. He had the shot, went wide.
Off a great move.
Yeah, so I just
Same
think
roller coaster with him.
I just think that they are just shaking off the rust.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes another game for them to really, get clicking. So I'm not concerned, but I'm not at the same time. They didn't really do that much that impressed me. There was one time I think for both players that I was like, oh
nice.
wow, that was a good move.
Good move.
Like that was a really good opportunity that you just created there to get the ball into the box.
I think for both of them in that kind of 18 to 22 minute range, we had 3 or 4 corners. We played very suffocating, attacking style play with good link up play, good passes, and it produced a lot of good opportunities and a couple really good saves, to be fair, by the Reno goaltender. So yeah, there was a glimpse there. Overall, though, we come away with 3 points. Cam hopefully gets the monkey off his back, scores a goal, and we can see his touch start to come back. That's something that we really need to see. But yep, got 3 points against a good Reno team who looks sluggish. And now we move on to LA Galaxy.
Yeah, well, just really quickly before that, I think the last kind of personnel thing to discuss would just be Villarreal or Wheeler Amanu. Villarreal, I thought in this game was amazing.
Yeah, he played very well.
I think
really
passing was
helped
good.
out that clean sheet.
Yeah, his defensive tackling and positioning was really good.
Got a great shot on net too in the first half.
Yeah, he did. He had a really good shot
Off a volley.
I think when Wheeler Amanu came in, he was fine. Like he didn't stand out to me, which is maybe a good thing because it was. He didn't make a mistake, and he just played simple passes. So that's just another thing to keep your eye on. I think Villarreal showed that maybe he needs to be the starter until further notice. So just something to keep your eye on. But yes, let's talk about LA Galaxy 2. Who really knows what we're going to see from them just because of both COVID and the first team being in Orlando for Major League Soccer's tournament and some of those players being gone. But right now they are they've played 3 games and they've been, like we said, kind of all over the place. They had a 5-1 win against Rio Grande Valley. That was pre the league shutting down because of COVID. But then when they came back, they were destroyed 4-0 by Phoenix. And then this weekend, they beat San Diego 1-0. So they're kind of everywhere. Now, we didn't watch the game, but we did all watch the highlights of at least this past weekend's game against San Diego. And we watched other highlights of the games as well. And they just look like they are young, talented, but inexperienced kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what we're going to see this coming weekend is there's going to be moments that we go, whoa, that was really good. And then there's going to be moments where we go, yeah, you're 17. I mean, anything else anyone want to add?
I can never know what's going to happen with the Galaxy. Yeah, I feel the same way about them as I do Tacoma and Portland. Like, it's not worth my time trying to figure out who's going to be there because it's just different guys all the time.
Well, they have a striker, Augustine Williams, who is, I think, if I had to guess, is going to be a consistent starter for LA Galaxy 2. He's somebody that had 7 goals, 2 assists in 15 games for Portland last year. He's a good player, and he looked dangerous against who they played pre-pandemic, Rio Grande. Looked dangerous against them. I believe he had a goal. Looked dangerous again against who am I thinking? San Diego. So that's probably a player that we'll end up seeing this week. Definitely a solid striker with good potential that I think is already coming through on his potential. So there's somebody to watch out for sure.
Yeah, and they'll probably play a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3.
Yep.
system, however that looks. From what I remember, it's the fullbacks getting very, very far forward. I will say this: there were center mids last year that I was really impressed with, and they're still with LA Galaxy 2 right now.
Yeah.
And that is Saldana and Ontiveros, I want to say is his name.
Okay.
So, and I think Saldana has been with the youth national teams. There's a left back that's been with the youth national teams. So they have good, talented players. It's just, can they all come together and click?
Chemistry.
So they've got 2 games under their belt. They've got some time to, get the rust off of them. Everyone gets beaten by Phoenix. So I'm not really that concerned about
the juggernaut.
Yeah, I don't really know if that game is super telling. 1-0 over San Diego, a team that only has a few games played together.
Mm-hmm.
Again, kind of hard to draw conclusions from that game. I just don't know. I think this is one of those games. So I used to play and coach volleyball. And one of the things that we were taught, and then I would teach players, is that you guys may be very well organized and very good, and you almost get to a point that when you play very good teams, their pattern, right? So volleyball, bump, set, spike, right? Well, bad teams, they're just not good enough to execute that. So it's bump over the net, right? It's passing the ball to the setter, but it's too big of a pass, so it just goes over the net immediately, or there's a whatever, right? It's not the normal executable style. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with these younger 2 teams, with guys that are very talented, you can kind of see that it's okay. Well, this pass should go out here. Everyone is seeing that this pass needs to go out here on this wing, but instead this guy dribbles in and has a shot, or players are either too hesitant, right? So they hang on to the ball too long, and you're not expecting that. So maybe you drop off or something unpredictable, or they take shots from crazy angles and stuff like that because they're 16, 17, 18, and no one can stop them, right? So that's the hard part. It's not that LA Galaxy 2 as an organization is unpredictable. It's that the players are young, and it's hard to predict them because we haven't seen them for a long time. So with that being said, if Sacramento isn't fully on for this game, like I don't think they were fully on for Tacoma, which I don't know if we can 100% blame them for because of COVID.
First game back, yeah.
But if they're not on for this game, we could see like a 1-1 draw or something like that, or like a 2-2 draw. Something where it's like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Mm-hmm. And these next 3 games, it's like we said, it's the 3 games out of the group. These aren't like group deciding games, but if we can show well against LA Galaxy 2, that'll set us up for a Wednesday game where we can go at home against a good Orange County team, an Orange County team that drew with Phoenix. That's going to be a hard game.
Yeah.
That'll then set us up for a good result against San Diego on the road that following weekend. So I think if we can work out these kinks in these 3 games so that we can get to a point that when we do return to this group play, we are ready to just roll through these guys, that's going to be huge. And you're not going to face, I think, a better team to really do that against than this LA Galaxy 2 team, because they're a little bit weaker, but they still have talented players. So you can't fall asleep because they will convert chances against you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't have to be super worried about like, oh, wow, this guy is really talented. And you know what? Next year, he's going to be with the first team. Those guys are with the first team already because of depth. So I'm really actually looking forward to this game. Mm-hmm. I think we've seen in the past where Sacramento will go on these runs and they'll have like 4, 5, 6 wins in a row. I'm kind of hoping that we can generate some momentum here. But what do you guys think?
I would say, I agree with that, and especially with a young team. Then it becomes a matter of, okay, what is our game plan? Let's execute our game plan. Let's not get caught trying to play their game. And so that what that comes down to is shape. And it's something that we saw to be inconsistent in the first game and something like got a lot better in this game. We got a clean sheet out of it. So shape as far as, especially with Ash on that left side, seeing better shape with him and with Sargis. We saw improvements this past game, but that has to still get improved. And so coming into this game, good shape is something I want to see. And finally, finishing up top. We can play a good game, but we have to take advantage of the mistakes that LA Galaxy is most likely going to make. They're young players. They're going to make mistakes. We need to capitalize on those and score goals. So those are the two things that I really want to see against Galaxy. And if we can do those things, I think we're going to come away with 3 points pretty easily.
Yeah, I think just going back to what Scott was saying about momentum, I think that's going to be huge going into this game. And if they can get a win, then it's not going to feel like a stutter here, a stutter there. It's going to for these players, for their confidence, getting 2 wins in a row and going into midweek against the Loyal will be huge. And I think a loss or a draw or something where they don't feel satisfied with the result is going to be hard to get over in this restart. So yeah, momentum going into, if they can get some through this by a good result, is going to be huge.
Especially with this shortened season. I mean, I think of it like a semester system and a quarter system, right? Like in a quarter system, when you're in school, you got to get going immediately. You have to stay on top of things right off the bat. And it's the same thing with this, is like, we need to generate momentum. We need to generate wins quickly and early, because it's not that long. The run of play that we're going to go through is just not that long. So a win against LA Galaxy is big for momentum, and momentum is really important right now.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it this way, there's 16 games this season. So after this weekend, we're a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah.
So, after the month of July, there's three more games this month of July. We're like a third of the way through the season. So
yeah,
you can't afford to be like, you know what, we're still rusty. We still got injuries. Like, I'm sorry, but like, just because of the situation that we're in, you can't make that excuse. So if it means that Shannon Gomez doesn't come back for a few more games because he's just not ready, then he's just not ready. You can't afford that. So yeah, we will see what happens this weekend. We will be watching that game, and we will have another episode for you guys soon.
The dogs are barking.
Yep. Hit us up
That's
on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, 916 Republic. Follow us or you can donate to our Patreon as well.
Please. All your spare cash.
Yeah, all your
$9.16.
all your spare COVID money.
Yes.
Give us that.
That stimulus check.
And as always, we are brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. We'd like to thank them for helping us out. Well, boys, any last thing, any random thing you got in your head?
Oh, no, actually.
Okay. Well, all right then. Glory, glory.
Sacramento.